Hey there, you spooky lot. I'm your host, Robbie Davis. Welcome to You Should Be Scared. Today, we're cranking up the creep factor and taking a trip back in time to the Victorian era. Buckle up, because we're about to uncover some seriously spooky traditions that would make even the bravest soul reach for a nightlight. The Victorians had a peculiar relationship with death and the afterlife, from talking to ghosts in darkened parlours to painting with, well, let's just say unconventional ingredients. Their practices were both eerie and intriguing. Let's get this spooky show on the road. Number 1. Summoning the dead. Alright, picture this. It's a dark and stormy night. The wind howls outside, rattling the windows of a dimly lit parlour. Inside, a group of Victorians sit around a table, their faces illuminated by flickering candlelight, hands outstretched, just waiting for something to happen. No, they're not about to play a spooky game of charades. They're hoping to contact the dead. Death was a constant companion in the Victorian era. Disease ran rampant, and folks didn't live as long as they do now. So, it's not a surprise that they sought solace in the belief that their dearly departed weren't really gone, just hanging out nearby in another realm. And how did they get in touch with these spectral beings? Séances, my friends. These gatherings were all the rage in Victorian society, a bit like the social media of the afterlife. Imagine a medium, often a charismatic figure shrouded in mystery, leading the group in an attempt to pierce the veil between the living and the dead. They'd dim the lights, hold hands, maybe even try to coax a spirit through with some light chanting. Some folks swear they felt a ghostly presence, heard whispers from beyond, or even witnessed objects moving on their own. But real or not, these seances were a testament to the Victorians' deep fascination with the afterlife. They yearned to connect with lost loved ones, to find comfort in the idea that death wasn't the end. Number 2. Mummy paint. Okay folks, get ready for this one, because it's a real head-scratcher. Imagine you're a wealthy Victorian art enthusiast strolling through a gallery, admiring the latest masterpiece. You lean in, captivated by the subject's lifelike skin tones, the way the light seems to dance on the canvas. Little do you know that captivating hue has a rather unsettling origin story. Enter Mummy Brown, a paint colour that was exactly what it sounds like. Paint made from ground-up Egyptian mummies. Yep, you heard me right. Victorians decided that the best way to achieve a certain richness and depth of colour in their paintings was to mix a little bit of ancient Egypt into the equation. Artists loved the warm, transparent brown it produced, perfect for depicting skin tones and landscapes. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just any old mummy dust they were using. They were grinding up the wrappings of mummies, which, as you can imagine, had been soaking up all sorts of, shall we say, organic materials for centuries. Unsurprisingly, the popularity of Mummy Brown eventually faded. Number 3. Mourning the deceased. Death, my friends, was a frequent and unwelcome guest in Victorian times, and when it came to mourning, these folks didn't mess around. They had rituals and customs that were as elaborate as they were eerie. Imagine a world draped in black crepe, where every aspect of life, from clothing to home decor, reflected the presence of death. When a loved one passed on in the Victorian era, the mourning period wasn't just a few days of quiet reflection. It was a full-blown societal obligation, often lasting months or even years. Widows especially were expected to wear heavy black clothing, often with veils to conceal their grief-stricken faces for at least a year and a day. But it wasn't just about the clothes. Homes were transformed into somber shrines to the departed. Mirrors were covered in black cloth to prevent the deceased spirit from getting trapped. Clocks were stopped at the time of death, as if frozen in a perpetual state of mourning. And forget about bright colours or cheerful decorations. Everything was draped in black, creating an atmosphere that was as gloomy as a graveyard at midnight. Hair jewellery, often woven from the locks of the deceased, was a macabre yet strangely sentimental way to keep loved ones close. These elaborate mourning rituals, while undeniably spooky to our modern sensibilities, served a purpose in Victorian society. Number 4. Victorian art and literature. Hold on to your top hats, folks, because we're about to enter the shadowy realm of Victorian art and literature, where death isn't just a theme, it's practically the main character. The Victorians, despite their prim and proper exteriors, had a bit of a soft spot for the macabre, and it showed in their artistic endeavours. Think back to those dark and stormy nights, the flickering gaslight illuminating cobblestone streets, the looming shadows of Gothic cathedrals. That was the aesthetic, the vibe, the whole mood of Victorian Gothic literature. Authors like Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, and Bram Stoker became rock stars of the literary world, their tales of murder, mayhem, and the supernatural sending chills down readers' spines. These weren't just ghost stories, they were explorations of fear, guilt, and the anxieties of a rapidly changing world. Victorian art went dark too, with painters like Dante Gabriel Rossetti and William Blake depicting scenes of death, decay, and the supernatural with a chilling realism. Think haunting portraits of pale, ethereal women, landscapes shrouded in mist and mystery, and of course the ever-present spectre of death lurking in the shadows. This fascination with the macabre wasn't just about scaring the bejeebers out of people, it was a reflection of the times. Number 5. Photographing the dead. Okay, brace yourselves, because this next tradition is not for the faint of heart. In the Victorian era, they had a unique way of remembering their dearly departed, post-mortem photography. That's right, folks, they took pictures of dead people. In a time before smartphones and instant photography, capturing a person's likeness was a big deal. It was expensive, time-consuming, and often reserved for special occasions. So, when someone died, especially a child, having their photograph taken was often the only way to preserve their memory. These post-mortem photographs weren't meant to be gruesome or morbid. Photographers often went to great lengths to make the deceased look as lifelike as possible. They'd pose them with their eyes open, sometimes propped open with special devices, add rosy cheeks with makeup, and even use hidden stands to make it look like they were sitting up or standing. It might seem strange to us now, but in the Victorian era, these photographs were seen as a way to honour the dead and keep their memory alive. Families would display these portraits in their homes, a constant reminder of their loved ones who had passed on. And there you have it, the top 5 spooky Victorian traditions. From summoning spirits in darkened parlours to painting with mummies, yikes. The Victorians certainly knew how to make the macabre their own. Their fascination with death and the supernatural might seem odd to us now, but it was a product of their time. So, the next time you're feeling brave, dim the lights, light a candle, and delve a little deeper into the eerie world of Victorian traditions. You might just find that beneath the surface of those prim and proper Victorians lies a world of fascinating and spooky history. So then, fair listener, let me know if I've missed any other spooky Victorian traditions, and if I get enough, I'll do a part 2. And hey, like, comment, and subscribe for more mysteries. And if you're not ready to leave just yet, click one of the other videos on the screen right now for more spookiness. Stay curious, stay cautious, and stay tuned. And remember, you should be scared.